ravaged wilderness.
We walked day and night. We were afraid of being discovered, killed. And on the way, we did have some of us that were eaten by wild animals.
Matthew is one of about 3,500 South Sudanese in San Diego, part of a worldwide diaspora. In January, many in the community cast their votes in the independence referendum. Chul Tut runs San Diego's South Sudanese Community Center.
I was born in the war and grew up in the war, and now is the time to vote. That means it's going to be my last bullet for that war.
Refugees who came to the U.S. from South Sudan did not have an easy time. When Agnes Olwar arrived 17 years ago, America was far from what she had imagined.
When I got there, it was one-bedroom apartment with 5 or 6 guys, roommates, then plus me and 2 younger kids in one-bedroom apartment. And you can imagine how can we live like this. You know, there is a lot of drug dealers going around. There is a lot of shooting going around. So I tell my husband, I wish I'd go back, live in refugee camp other than, because I was scared all the time.
Now she's the proud owner of her own hairdressing business with a child in college. But South Sudan beckons. Even though they've spent years making their lives here in the United States, many South Sudanese say they're eager to return to their homeland and help build a new country.
When the peace comes, all those people will be going back to Sudan, and they will come with a skill, whatever the skill they have, to bring that nation. That will build up the country. I have to go back and do whatever I can for those people who need the skill.
Matthew Riek, who now has a master's degree in public administration, wants to work for the new government.
One could be thought of as crazy if you want to go back there. But for me, you know, having gotten to where I am today, especially with the education that I've gotten, I feel like, you know, I would do a disservice to my country where I was born, you know, if I don't go there and do something.
Agnes Olwar, too, is ready to leave the relative comfort of life in California for something deeper and more meaningful.
I really want to go back and help out. And also we have like a lot of family that has been scattered all over the world. I wish one day we can just go back and be as family one time. We can have a place we can call home.
Rob Reynolds, Al Jazeera, San Diego, California.
Well, still to come, caught in the crossfire, villagers from a disputed border region flee as Thai and Cambodian forces clash for a 4th day.
And I'm Hud Abdel Hamid with the latest from Liberation Square in the heart of Cairo. That's just after the break.
Hello, still no shortage of rain across Australia at the moment. The heavy downpours will continue pretty much everywhere, apart from where we need it, down towards that southwestern corner where we have those wildfires to the east and north of Perth. Ironically, to the south, there will be some rainfall, to the south of Perth, that is. Some very strong and gusty winds continuing to fan those flames. There's that wet weather. Further north, up towards Northern Territory, flooding rains, those tropical downpours will continue. Some rain also coming back into southern parts of Queensland as well. Brisbane will see some very heavy downpours over the next day or two. It is drier and brighter down towards that southeastern corner. Melbourne with a top temperature of around 22 degrees. Now, that wet weather we have across northern parts of Australia, joining up with the torrential downpours just around Indonesia. Borneo still seeing some very wet weather. It's only across the eastern half of Borneo. Kuching further west will be dry. Temperatures here at 30 Celsius. Not too bad across the Malay Peninsula up to Indochina. Generally fine and dry here. Generally dry too across much of India. Sri Lanka, on the other hand, will continue to see those heavy and flooding rains persisting here. Some of that wet weather also making its way into the far southeast of India. There's that wet weather for Sri Lanka. Further north, we do have some rain, sleet and snow just around the foothills of the Himalayas.
Home to a diversity of rare species, Latvia's pristine woodlands are a place of magic. But with a strained economy and an eager market, forests are rapidly perishing, and with them their inhabitants. People and Power investigates how 60% of Latvia's timber ends up on UK shelves with a questionable seal of approval. Latvia's pulp fiction, at this time on Al Jazeera.
Welcome back. Let's recap the top story here in Al Jazeera now. Pro-democracy protests in Egypt have entered their 14th day. Demonstrators in Cairo's Liberation Square are continuing to call for the end of President Mubarak's 30-year rule. Well, the government made more concessions after sitting down for talks with opposition groups on Sunday. But the Muslim Brotherhood, the largest party in attendance, tells Al Jazeera it's reviewing its decision to take part in those discussions. Al Jazeera's Huda Abdul Hamid joins us now live from Cairo. Huda, I understand funeral prayers are about to be heard. What's going on in the square?
Well, at the moment, the square is quite peaceful. People are coming in, but yes, a funeral procession is expected to come here around just after noon prayer. So that should be around 10:30 GMT. Now, that's the funeral of the journalist, Egyptian journalist, who was killed while he was taking some pictures on his balcony, allegedly by a sniper from the security forces. From what we understand, the funeral procession will start at the Journalist Syndicate, which is about 10 minutes walk away from Liberation Square, and should come here, circle around the square, and then leave the square.
Yesterday we had Christian and Muslim prayer services in the square. Today it's funeral services. Are these events energizing the momentum?
Well, I think at the moment they are. The main way to energize the momentum is really to call for more million march days. One is expected tomorrow. Now, if you look around the square, as you can see, their call is, by the looks of it, has been heeded by many people. Look at just the amount of tents that are now on the square. I could easily tell you that those were not there yesterday morning, and so those were all put in place during the day yesterday. A clear sign that more and more people have the intention to camp in the square and not leave, at least until some of their demands are met, at least when there's a clear indication of when President Hosni Mubarak is intending to leave his seat as a president.
How do protesters feel, Huda, about the opposition groups who've met with the government while the president remains in power?
Well, I think the protesters know that they have a problem at this stage. They still couldn't find someone to represent them. They are still discussing among themselves. I don't think they have come, at least as of last night, they haven't come to any decision as who would be the group of young people who would represent them. And I think also there's an element of surprise here. They did start these protests. They did wanted to make their voice loud and clear, but they didn't really realize how loud their voice will be. They didn't really realize how much would happen and how much of a shockwave this will be throughout Egypt and even all the way to Washington.
All right, Huda Abdul Hamid live from Cairo with the update there on the protests in Liberation Square. While Egypt's political turmoil is shaking the Middle East, a change of regime could give Hamas in Gaza a boost. Hamas's early origins lie in the Muslim Brotherhood organization, and the two groups still have very close links. Nicole Johnston reports from Gaza.
Hamas is firmly entrenched in Gaza. It's been in power here for 4 years, and it alone is in charge of the street.
Hamas is an offshoot of the Muslim Brotherhood. That's Egypt's banned opposition group. So it could benefit a great deal if the Muslim Brotherhood becomes a rising political force in Egypt.
I would imagine that the benefits will be putting a total end to the siege on the Gaza Strip from the Egyptian side, while Palestinian freedom of movement through Rafah will be extended.
Hamas has not come out and said that President Hosni Mubarak should step down. It's been careful not to take a position for or against him, but it is closely watching the role of the Muslim Brotherhood.
They're going to be part of the political landscape in Egypt, but I don't think they're going to be accepted as the sole dominant party that